A very good morning to all of you and welcome to the session, the Hindu Editorial Analysis for Proficiency in English. Today's editorial is related to election campaign. A little complicated, not easy to comprehend. Some important words are there. Let us start with the question, what is the enrichment? As usual, you improve your comprehension skill. Today, as I said, not an easy one, a little complicated. You will consolidate your effective vocabulary. Some new words are there and you will consolidate, you will learn new words. You will consolidate your grammar knowledge. Effective English, a few idioms are there, and 7:30 mini mocks. Let us start with the question, what is this editorial about? The editorial is a critique of the divisive electoral rhetoric used by political leaders, particularly Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi during the general election campaign. At the outset, I would like to tell you guys whatever I'm going to say, not my opinion, the opinion of the editorial. Do remember, there is no personal stand taken here. It is all about what the editorial says, purely objective, not at all subjective. Keep that in mind. I have nothing to do with what the editorial says. I only try to interpret and I try to enrich your knowledge, language, proficiency point of view. As I said, this is about election campaign rhetoric used by political leaders, and the editorial opines the campaign. It is in the direction of dividing the North and the South, divisive rhetoric, electoral rhetoric, negative words, particularly focusing on the Prime Minister Narendra Modi. Because of that, I am saying nothing personal based on the editorial. What is the tone of the editorial? The tone of the editorial is a critical and concerned, criticizing, concerned because sort of division between the North and the South, North people and the South political parties, to be more precise. As I said today, also a lot of words, about 20 words, keeping the time constraint in mind. I brought only about 12 or 14. The very first word we have got many a time, rhetoric. How do you pronounce this? A rhetoric, part of speech noun. The art of effective or persuasive writing or speaking, often with an emphasis on style over substance. It is more related to style rather than substance, and it goes more with speaking, especially political leaders at the time of campaigning while addressing the masses. Synonym, oratory, eloquence. Both the words are very important. Inarticulateness. Articulate also means to speak very clearly. Important word. Simplicity is a simple word. You don't have to worry about that word. What is the example? The politician's rhetoric was impressive, but many doubted his ability to deliver on his promises. Easy to say something, difficult to implement. Based on that is this example. Huh. Grandiloquence. Who is this? Naidu. Very good. Pitting, we have already got. Pit as a noun, a different meaning, dent. But here, pitting as a verb, setting someone or something in conflict or competition with another. This goes with election contest and context. It goes with contesting one against another. Then we use word pitting. Synonym, confronting, opposing. Antonym, aligning, uniting. Not exactly. This goes with election contest. Example, the debate pitted the two best students against each other two, more than two, one another. The debate pitted the two best students against each other, one this side, the other side. Linchpin, we have already got part of speech noun, a central or crucial element or a person. In this context, the prime minister, according to the editorial, that holds various parts together. Usually it goes with, last time also I told you guys, it goes with a wheel. What holds a wheel? Wheel and the cart, this linchpin. Once you remove the linchpin, the wheel comes off the cart. Very important. It means something very important. Synonyms: keystone, cornerstone. If you remove the cornerstone or the keystone, the whole thing collapses. Unimportant, detail, non-essential. But usually I give the word non-entity. Imagine in an organization there is a person not that important, no one cares. In a group also, tune with also right. Then we say he's a non-entity. Antonyms: unimportant, detail, non-essential, non-entity. You have to remember. What is the example? Trust is the linchpin of a successful team. When you work in a team, the most important factor is uh, trust. No trust, the team collapses within no time. Intact, part of speech adjective, not damaged or impaired in any way, complete. More than complete, usually this goes with imagine an accident, imagine a negative incident. People remain as they are, no damage and no injuries, then intact. Unbroken whole, damaged, broken. Despite the car accident, the family emerged intact. This is what I was talking about. Accident, but nothing happened to the family. Then what do you say? The family emerged intact. You can also use it with a party. The party remained intact. Look at this example. The party remained intact. This is also a good example. Not because I gave, usually it's a good example. Ameliorate, an important word, part of speech verb. To make something bad or unsatisfactory better, you have to be a little careful. You have to read this way: to make something better. Something is what? Something bad or unsatisfactory. Synonym: improve, enhance, enrich. So many words are there. Impair, weaken, subversion, undermine, debilitate. Wonderful, Naidu. Antonym: worsen, deteriorate. Deteriorate, we have got many a time, but it's an important word. Efforts to ameliorate the living conditions in the slum were successful. Slum, a place where the downtrodden, marginalized people live. You all know the word slum. And there's one important expression you have to know. When you read the newspapers, you come across slum dwellers. Slum dwellers. Make something better. A revel, part of speech verb, we have got for the first time, I suppose. To take great pleasure or delight in something. Synonym: celebrate, enjoy. I would rather give another word, prefer. Cherish. Exacerbate also you can say. Mamata, very good. Already has come up with that. Antonym: mourn, lament. Mourn goes more with death. Lament is a better word. Means to feel sad, to be in that melancholic mood, depressed. Example: they reveled in their victory long into the night. Means they celebrated. Cherish goes more with the past, childhood, all that. Sequitur, an important word we have got for the first time. A conclusion or statement that does not logically follow from the previous argument or statement. Something that is irrelevant, you can say. Does not logically follow from the previous argument or statement. Means going off the track. Synonym: inconsistency, incongruity, an important word you have to remember. Antonym: logical conclusion, consistency. Her comment about the weather was a non sequitur during the serious discussion. Sequitur, a conclusion or statement that does not logically follow from the previous argument or statement. I think something went wrong here. Sequitur means something that follows logically. Non sequitur, that does not follow logically. We have to check this one, hold this one. Dog whistle, an idiom we have got for the first time. You may wonder How can dogs whistle? Generally, we use the word howl. Howl goes more with wolves howling. But here, dog whistle. A coded message communicated through words or phrases understood by a particular group but not by others. Because it is coded, everyone cannot understand. If everyone understands, we don't use the expression coded. Synonym coded language, hidden message, better expression. Clear statement, overt expression. Hidden opposite, public, overt. And overt opposite, covert. Already, I think we got yesterday. The politician's speech included several dog whistles that appealed to his base. Only they understood, others could not understand. Rev up, we have got for the first time a phrasal verb to increase in intensity or speed, accelerate, intensify. But there's one important word you have to recollect: expedite, speed up, slow down, decelerate. Accelerate, what is opposite? Decelerate. The coach revved up the team's energy with an inspiring speech. When someone gives a short, inspiring speech, we call it pep talk. Pep talk. I gave them a pep talk. Encrypted, better word, formal English. A rake up, phrasal verb again, to bring up or recall an unpleasant past event. Talking about something that happened in the past, not positive but negative. Rehash, recall, forget, overlook. She didn't want to rake up old arguments during the meeting. Vituperation, we have got for the first time. See, so many new words today, at least 5 to 6 new words. Bitter and abusive language. Synonym, invective, is also a new word. Denounce, denunciation, important words. Antonyms, praise, commendation. Yesterday we got commendable, laudable, hark back, very good, rake up. But here, abusive. Abuse has three different meanings. One meaning, misuse. It goes with power. Abuse of power, misuse of power. Second one, abusive language means what? Bad language or foul language, shouting at someone using bad language. Commendable job, commendable work. And the third one, ill treat, abused child. Stepmother doesn't treat well, general statement. Then abused child, ill treated. All the three meanings are important. Example, the debate descended into vituperation as both sides refused to listen to each other. That's what happens. Espouse is also an important word, part of speech verb. This is also a new word, more than 5 new words. To adopt or support a cause, a belief, or way of life. In a way, it means advocate, embrace, reject, oppose. She espoused the principles of sustainable living, a very useful example. That's what everyone talks about nowadays: sustainable goals, sustainable living, sustainable lifestyle. I guess that is the last word. Yes. How does it start? Dangers of divisiveness, dividing the country, regions, danger, harmful, hazardous. On the electoral rhetoric from the top level, here top level means the prime minister, indirectly implied. What is the main idea? Pitting citizens of the north, this is what I was talking about, against southern parties. It is not north people, south people. It is north people and southern parties, dissimilar. Usually we don't do that. We are not supposed to do that. Pitting citizens means placing them against each other. Of the north against southern parties is a hazardous ploy, means hazardous, dangerous strategy, tactic. There is one word, the north. Whenever you talk about a particular direction, you have to use a definite article, the south, the north. That also you have to recollect. From this, you should understand, you should guess what could be the broad framework of the editorial. It talks about election campaigning from the top level, the prime minister, obviously, and the opposition party top leaders. And during the election campaign, usually they resort to rhetoric and they use certain standard phrases. These phrases or the rhetoric editorial feels divisive, means what? Dividing, and it is not good for the country, obviously. Let's see how it goes. With polling over in 379 of 543 constituencies after the fourth phase in the general election, the electoral campaigns of parties have reached closer to the end point, almost over. 379 of the 543 constituencies over. And during the after the fourth phase last week also I did one editorial. The electoral campaigns of parties have reached closer to the end point, almost over. Deep into the campaign calendar, you got to be alert here. There are two words you have to recollect. They have given many a time. We all know the first one. What is the first one? Calendar, that deals with days, dates, months, years. Another calendar, what is the spelling? DER. This one is DAR. This one is DER. This is a machine. To be precise, a rolling machine. It is used to press paper or cloth. Calendar is a machine. A rolling machine used to press either paper or cloth, large scale, industrial, not domestic. Deep into the campaign calendar, though, the disconnect between the concerns of the electorate and campaign rhetoric. It says when you look at the campaign, something is quite obvious. What is quite obvious? According to the editorial, there's a disconnect. There's a disconnect between the concerns of the electorate and campaign rhetoric. The concerns of the electorate or the concerns of the public, one thing. Last time also I said one, employment problem, unemployment problem. Second, the inflation problem. But the election campaign is based on rhetoric. Both are disconnected. There's a disconnect, the disconnect between the concerns of the electorate and campaign rhetoric, especially that of the BJP, that of BJP linchpin and Prime Minister Narendra Modi, remains unfortunately intact. Means the disconnect is intact, not changed, still there. What is this disconnect between what? One, electoral concerns, unemployment, price rise, and campaigning electoral rhetoric. To justify that, what are the electoral concerns? Last week also we got one editorial. While job creation, inflation, and development have been emphasized by voters as primary issues, have been emphasized the present perfect tense passive voice. By whom? By voters. For voters, what are the primary issues? Three issues. One is unemployment problem. Second is inflation problem. Third is infrastructure development. But unfortunately, the primary issues are being sidelined. While job creation, inflation, and development have been emphasized by voters as primary issues, Mr. Modi refuses to be driven passive voice, refuses to be driven by the idea of contesting mainly on his government's record over 10 years of rule and focusing on measures to ameliorate the main concerns. What it means Prime Minister is not looking at the electoral concerns. He is looking at something else. The Prime Minister refuses to be driven by the idea of contesting mainly on his government's record over 10 years of rule and focusing on measures to ameliorate the main concerns, means deal with the main concerns. He is refusing, in the opinion of the editorial. Instead, while refusing those things, what is he focusing on? Instead, he seeks to do what he has always reveled in. He seeks to do what he has always reveled in, present perfect tense, passive, active voice. Attacking the opposition with truths, half truths, and non sequiturs. These are all against the Prime Minister. You got to be careful. Instead, he seeks to do what he has always reveled in. At three things: attacking the opposition with truths, half truths, and non sequiturs. Mr. Modi's recourse, last time also we got recourse means what? Choice, option. To this is also helped by the shrill noise, loud, squeaky noise of television and social media being a useful tool to distract from concerns with the rhetoric that he has used, be it hate speech against Muslims or dog whistles to rev up support from Hindutva adherents. Completely about the stand taken by the editorial against the Prime Minister. Some students may not find this interesting, but do remember we are not doing from personal standpoint of view, we are doing from language proficiency point of view. Try to learn the language. Don't look at the stand taken by the editorial. If you like the PM, you will definitely get disturbed, or rather irritated. Don't look from that angle. So, what does the sentence say? Mr. Modi's recourse, the choice, the option to this is also helped by something. Helped by what? The shrill noise of television and social media being a useful tool to distract from concerns, those three problems, with the rhetoric that he has used. What is that rhetoric? Be it hate speech against Muslims or dog whistles to rev up support from Hindutva adherents. Other parties, including the Congress and its public face Rahul Gandhi, are also, even if not to the same extent, they are also doing the same thing but may not be to the same extent, guilty of raking up identity issues such as those related to caste politics. One focuses on religion, the other focuses on caste politics, raking up identity issues such as those related to caste politics. But Mr. Modi and some of his colleagues have taken vituperation as a campaigning device to new levels, means higher levels. In his rally in Jaunpur, he accused opposition in Uttar Pradesh, the SP and the Congress of silence when their southern allies used absurd, means ridiculous, and abusive language for the people of UP and Sanatana Dharma. I'm not elaborating these things because uh, I will just read out and tell the meanings of the words and grammar point of view. I will not go deep into what the editorial says. Some of the northern parties in the India bloc have publicly disagreed with the DMK leader Stalin's comments on Sanatana Dharma while emphasizing their stances on social justice and taking on the issue of caste hierarchy. This goes with what was said by Mr. Stalin, Tamil Nadu Chief Minister, and how some of the parties in India bloc opposed. At the same time, they emphasized their stand related to social justice and taking on the issue of caste hierarchy. Hierarchy means one below the other, ranking system. There is more that unites the politics of federalism and social justice espoused by these parties than what divides them. When you take these parties in the India bloc, there is more that unites the politics of federalism and social justice espoused by these parties, advocated by these parties, than what divides them. Division factors less, uniting factors more. Questions related to linguistic nationalism, such as the need for English as a link language, but that is to be expected from coalitions made up of different political parties. There is unity when you take the coalition parties, opposition parties, India bloc. At the same time, there is some sort of division or disagreement, and that is quite natural. Is to be expected. If everything is unanimous, you will be surprised. On some issues, unanimous. Some issues, disagreement. It is expected. Is to be expected, passive voice from coalitions made up of different political parties because different political parties have different ideologies. Definitely, you can see, you will witness differences. Mr. Modi should, this is advise or suggest, Mr. Modi should focus on the differences in emphasis on how to tackle socio-economic issues between the BJP and the India bloc. What the editorial says, the Prime Minister should focus on emphasis on how to tackle socio-economic issues. What are the differences? BJP may talk about socio-economic issues, how to deal with, how to tackle. The Congress also may talk about the same. The PM should focus on what are the differences between the two in emphasis on how to tackle, and he should go ahead with those based on that. But contrasting word. Instead, his use of half truths as a weapon to rile the Hindi heartland against southern parties is problematic. At a time when there is greater north south economic integration, with working class citizens from the north migrating to the south for employment. At this juncture, what is happening in the present scenario? From the north, many people are going to the south in search of employment. Working class citizens from Bihar and some other places. And when it is resulting in economic integration, trying to divide is not a good thing. That is the opinion stand taken by the editorial. Recently, the BJP inducted Manish Kashyap. Induct means to take someone into the organization in a formal way. A YouTube content creator who had been jailed in Tamil Nadu for spreading false news about Bihari migrants being attacked in the state. He has been criticized for spreading false news and he has been imprisoned or incarcerated. But BJP has inducted Manish, the same person, into the party. Such actions could foment divisive politics that does not help the Indian nation as a whole. How does it end? It is not a good thing. Such actions are not good. There is a possibility, though chances are less. Foment means what? Incite, instigate, we got yesterday. Divisive politics that does not help the Indian nation as a whole. Not good for the country as a whole. I think it ends on that note. Yes. That's all about the editorial. Intentionally, deliberately, I haven't elaborated certain sentences, keeping in mind the feelings and emotions of the students or those who are watching the video. And whatever I have said, I would like to reiterate the stand taken by the editorial against the Prime Minister. Not my personal opinion. Do remember, have a nice day. Join at 7:30 to work on mini mocks. And do remember to subscribe and